edition of the Expert Series. I'm so excited to be here today with Michelle Muller-Marinis of Petit Organics. And I'd love if you could tell us a bit about, what you're up to and what you're about and who you are.
Sure. So as said, I'm Michelle Muller-Marinis. I have Petit Organics, which is the first fresh, additive, preservative-free baby food delivery service in New York City. We've expanded out into other markets throughout the country, which has been really exciting. But it's all about sort of re-educating parents on, starting from their baby's first bite of food, that it should be clean, it should be fresh, organic, non-GMO ingredients, and no additives, no preservatives, and extra unnecessary sugar. So it's been a passion of mine. I have 3 children. When I had my first son, who's now almost 7 years old, which is crazy, that is sort of what triggered this, understanding where our food is coming from and learning more, and then Petit Organics came after. So recently I've been working on a new line of baby food that will actually be going out into grocery stores in the refrigerated section. And so that's kind of on the next 3 to 6 month goal plan, but very, very exciting, something I'm so passionate about. I feel really lucky to be able to do this every day for a living.
That's so awesome, making really good, organic, beautiful things accessible to a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's kind of a dream. Yeah, so it's been really exciting.
Cool. So why is organic important?
So I actually get this question all the time, but there's sort of 3 main reasons why you would want to purchase organic. And for some people, all 3 matter. For some people, maybe it's just one, but they're all, I think, equally important. So whatever resonates with you, fantastic. The first big obvious one is flavor. I believe strongly that organic, non-GMO food that is how it is supposed to be consumed is more flavorful. There have been arguments that it's more nutritious versus the same as conventional, but regardless of that aspect, it is definitely a more flavorful product.
Cool.
Then you go into the whole political aspect. So the government actually subsidizes an extraordinary amount of corn products, so corn syrup, processed sugars, all sorts of syrups and oils, and we think if we start making more organic purchases and start by our actions showing the government, no, we don't really want genetically modified food, we don't want chemicals and pesticides in our food going into our children's bodies or our own bodies, and if we start purchasing more organic, then you're showing the government that that is more important. So maybe they'll then start, reevaluating where exactly they're sending their subsidy money, and maybe they'll start helping out organic farmers or family farmers that really genuinely need this money. And then the last aspect is sort of the moral aspect. The idea behind these small family farms. It's quite sad. I believe that it's roughly around 40 small family farms every 6 months have to file bankruptcy.
Wow. Because
there are a lot of requirements with regards to certifying their farm. Yeah. So they may spend their whole entire year's salary to certify their farm, and then they just can't sustain themselves. And things will come through like bugs will come and wipe out the crops, and because they're not using the pesticides, it'll ruin their crops for the season. So I think it's really important to try and support, the organic farmers. And then if you want to take it another level and support your local organic farms, that is a huge step in the positive direction of, again, sending the message to the government and sort of as an individual doing the right thing.
Absolutely. That idea of voting with your dollars. And
exactly. Actions speak louder than words. Right.
So what are some ways that you encourage healthy habits at home for your family and your kids?
So again, that's one of the questions I get all the time. And it's not as difficult as some people might think. So there are a handful of things that I suggest to parents, and I actually practice in my own home. One of the biggest things is just have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables around the house. If they're here, then automatically kids go to the fruit bowl and grab a banana or an apple, pear. And when you have it around the house, it's really easy to give it to them as an option. With regards to junk food, I just tell people don't even buy it. If it's not in your house, then your children just don't, it's not an option. They're not going to ask for it. And you know, if completely scratching junk food off of the options is out of the question, then I say try to limit it to the weekends. So the kids can, you know, they know that Saturdays and Sundays are treat day. And they'll not be asking for those things during the week, which is when, you know, they're in school, they need to concentrate, all those good things. You know, as far as having fresh fruits and vegetables around the house, a lot of parents ask, well, what do I do during that witching hour right before dinner time? I'm struggling to get everything on the table. The kids are going bananas and jumping off the furniture because they're so hungry. What do you do? So one thing that a good friend of mine recommended a couple of years ago, and I do this religiously every week. So on Sundays, I'll take various vegetables, you know, bell peppers, cucumbers, carrots, broccoli, and I chop them up and prep them into little sticks. And then I have a container of hummus. And so what I do is, you know, if they're really going bananas and they can't wait until I have dinner on the table, I'll put a platter out with all of these different snacks and, you know, they'll eat it. And I say to myself, well, okay, maybe they're going to fill up on hummus and veggies and fruit, but at least if they're going to fill up and spoil the dinner, it's unhealthy foods, right? So it's not anything to feel guilty about, right? And at least it takes the chaos out of the dinner time. And then the last aspect I suggest is by bringing your children in the kitchen with you. Have them help you make a pizza or, you know, chop up carrots for a dish, whatever it might be. As long as you're supervising them, there's no reason why a kid can't, you know, hold a knife and learn to chop vegetables and fruit and help you out stir pot. And I've found that pretty much any child, as long as they're involved in the cooking process, they will at least try it. You know, and that's half the battle, is just getting them to take that first bite. And most of the time after they have the first bite, they're really proud of their work, and then they'll finish their dinner, which is really super cool for moms.
That's great. Everybody wins. They're getting comfortable, you know, working with food and you know, knowing what this is and where it comes from and how great it is to actually eat it. So
yeah, and that's another big thing that is so great about having them in the kitchen, is because they sort of understand the experience of this fruit, vegetable, grain, whatever it may be, is going into this pot with the other ingredients, and wow, at the end of it we have a whole meal. So they start to understand, you know, the farm to table movement, and you know, it comes full circle.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever take them to the farmer's market?
I love to take them to the farmer's market. I'm so lucky in New York with the Union Square Green Market. And especially my favorite time is sort of like September, October, when everything's being harvested. You have all the pilgrim vegetables, and it's just so colorful. And you know, the kids being able to talk to the farmers and ask them questions is so amazing. We're also lucky up here in the Northeast, there's so many pick your own farms. So we have, you know, in the summer we'll go to a strawberry farmer or a peach farmer. In the fall, apples and pear and pumpkin patches, and I love taking them to see where it comes from and to understand these things are actually growing off of trees and coming out of the ground. It's not something that you know, just appears in a grocery store. So, you know, anytime a parent can educate their child about that aspect of food, I think is really, really important.
So what does it mean to be a conscientious consumer to you?
There's quite a bit involved, but you know, again, we were talking about meal planning, and if you can easily, if you're planning ahead for meals, you can think about being a conscientious consumer simultaneously, and it's not that much extra work. So, you know, with the meal planning, you're already thinking about what meals you're making. So part of being a conscientious consumer is reducing your waste. So if you're planning ahead and really committing to the meal planning on a weekly basis, you're going to be thinking what exactly you're making, you're writing your list, what ingredients you'll be using, and thinking about the portion sizes. So are you making a meal just for one night, or are we going to be batch cooking and, you know, making 3 servings and freezing some? So you really think about that, and don't buy more than you need, because it'll spoil and go into the trash, and, you know, wasting food is just not something a conscientious consumer does intentionally. You also want to think about buying organic, again, for the political reasons of trying to, you know, hopefully have an influence over the government and where their priorities lie with subsidizing farms. And then buying as close to home as possible. So thinking about the local aspect, you know, obviously the trucks aren't going as far, so the effects on the environment aren't as, you know, dire. And then you want to, when you're buying the produce at the grocery store or at the local grain market or even straight from a farm, you want to think about buying limited processed goods. So, you know, obviously these huge factories that are, you know, throwing out macaroni and cheese packets, things like that. Obviously there's a lot of processed ingredients going in, and it's just not good for the environment to run these factories. So if you can limit as much as possible buying from them, you know, it definitely has positive benefits in our environment and in your home as well, in your children's and family's health.
So what would you say are your tenets of living well?
All right, so for me personally, with my crazy life with 3 kids in New York City, things are always so insanely busy in my house. I mean, there's not a single day that I don't have a million things on my plate. Laughter, you know, there are just crazy things happening every day. The toys that I find in my shoes, I come into my makeup, you know, being like scratched, the eyeshadow scratched out and dumped all in the sink. But you know, you can't take these things personally. You just have to laugh because, I mean, that it's nature's medicine. It's the way that we get through our lives. And then the final tenet I would say is sleep. It's taken me a really long time to realize how incredibly important sleep is. And I think mothers, you know, once the kids are in bed, we wait, we get a lot of stuff done while they're sleeping, and we forget, oh wow, it's really important for us to be sleeping too. So there has to be a point where you turn off the phone, you close the laptop, and you say, I have to take care of myself and my body, I need to rest.
I would say that creates a pretty good foundation for, you know, feeling awesome and enjoying.
Yes.
You know, which is huge.
Yeah, life is supposed to be fun. You don't want it to be stressful.
I would agree.
Yes.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I can't thank you enough for sitting down to chat with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. If folks are looking for more information on you, or, you know, Petit Organics, or the new launch,
yes,
where would they find you? Where do they go?
So I would suggest if you go to petitorganics.com, you can always email us if you have any questions, support@petitorganics.com, and we have our blog.petitorganics.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. There's many different ways to follow us on social media. So look us up. We love new followers, and we love to engage our followers. So give us a shout.
Yeah, and lots of really great ideas, you know, recipes, feeding kid ideas, just really, really cool stuff. So do check it out. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll see you soon.